Welcome to the Rebuilt Man podcast today. I am your host and founder, Coach Frank Rich, and we have an incredible and exciting Q&A episode with you. So if you're new here to the podcast, this is our Q&A series where we welcome Coach Arnold, our head coach inside the Rebuilt Man community, alongside myself, and we're answering listener questions. So these are questions sent directly to us from you guys in the audience. So if you have a question that you want answered on an upcoming episode, you can email those questions to Frank at Rebuilt Recovery. And we also include questions and answers from men inside the Rebuilt Man community on school. So if you're a member of school, you know where to send your questions directly to Coach Arnold. And if you are a man that is on the fence and struggling with porn addiction and ready to take aggressive action to rebuilding your identity, to rewiring your brain and step into a life of freedom, we want to invite you to join us for free for 1 week inside school. You can visit school.com/reboot your life to join us, start taking action on the 7-day reset, and get connected and surrounded daily with a group of men that are building real freedom. But Arnold, my brother, welcome back to the podcast today.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and I know you got some questions lined up here, so let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
So here's one. What if I'm single? How do I quit when I have no sexual outlet? A lot of advice assumes you're married or in a relationship. I'm single, and am I just supposed to be celibate forever if I quit porn? I think that's a common question. Guys are confused. They don't know what's the different take on being in a relationship and being single, and they don't know what to do. Common question, I would say.
Yeah. There's a very interesting presupposition at the end of that question, though, that am I going to have to be single forever or sexless forever? I forget the exact phraseology.
Celibate forever.
Celibate forever. Yeah. That's assuming that you're going to be single forever. And I think the question, there's a series of questions that this person has to ask themselves, right? Like, how much of the struggle that you have with pornography is producing the type of man that can't go out there and find an attractive and meaningful relationship and partner, right? So it's like a level of personal responsibility that, hey, am I single because like this thing that I'm hiding in the dark is keeping me a shell of the man that I could be? So there's a very difficult question that a lot of men don't want to face. But to answer your question, man, it's like, yeah, you need to figure it out on your own, because it's also buying into the belief that a lot of men fall into, right? That the relationship is going to take care of my addiction, that I'm only watching porn because I am single, that I'm only using porn because I don't have another sexual outlet. Here's what I can tell you after 6 years of working with men and thousands of guys, both in and out of relationships. Relationship is only a magnifier to the issue, right? Having daily access to sex doesn't make your porn problem go away. If anything, it will escalate it, because now there's going to be a level of disconnect. So yeah, I think it's short, and I'll pass it to you and let you kind of unpack this one a little bit. But solving this while you're single, I think, is one of the greatest opportunities that a man has to grow in self-awareness, to grow in self-leadership, to grow in self-mastery, and what it'll do for you in terms of making you a very attractable partner in the future is something that you cannot understand until you go through that journey. Because a woman is looking for a man that has mastered himself, that has mastered his internal discipline, that has mastered his internal dialogue, that has mastered his internal self-regulation. And if you go through this while you're single, I'm assuming you're still fairly a young man and have a lot of life ahead of you. Even if you're in your 50s, master it while you're single, because there's still life ahead of you. What you now have to offer to the opposite sex is something that very few men have and are willing to do. So it's hard and difficult. You know, I went through 2.5 years of intentional singleness, of intentional celibacy, to get to the point where I didn't feel like I needed a woman to complete me. Like I became a man of value, a man that when I went back into the dating marketplace, it's like I was so confident in who I was because of what I had to overcome through 2 years. So lean into your brotherhood, lean into self-mastery, learn a skill, lean into God. Like there's a lot of tools and resources available. And also it's a common thing that we talk about here is accept the fact that your porn use has nothing to do with your sexual desires. It feels that way. It's hijacked that way, right? You're watching sex on a screen. It's a sexual outlet. You're running to this thing for something deeper inside of you, and you got to figure that out because getting into a relationship will not solve that problem for you.
Yeah, 100%. And this is actually a similar question came up in one of the group calls, um, because people were asking like, okay, so which one would be better? And we have somebody in the community. I was asking a question how they were struggling, and but they're also trying to date, and how do you reconcile the two, and which one's better? And I said, okay, so there are pros and cons with both, right? Sometimes we don't have a choice, meaning that you are married. You're not going to divorce so you can, you know, and deal with this issue, or you're in a committed relationship. You're not going to just leave her to, in that situation, you have to work with what you got. Now, you and I both agree on this. If you are single and you're dealing with this problem, you should stay single and address this. You don't want to jump into a relationship and then bring that problem with you, because now you're involving somebody else and creating them unnecessary pain and frustration. It's not, it's
Mhm.
kind of an ego selfish thing to do. If but again, like if you have a choice, then yeah, stay single. And it's always this whole envy. Single guys envy guys in a relationship, and relationship guys envy single guys, saying if it would be easier if I were single. Single guys saying it would be easier if I were married. And what I said to that was, it it's just this addiction has changed your perception to focus on the empty part of the glass. You always think somebody else has it easier than you, no matter where you are. And that first and foremost, you have to change that thinking. So this question, like most questions we always talk about, has to undergo a reframe. Um, Separate sexuality from porn. Being single does not mean you have no sexual outlet, right? That you've tied porn together with having a sexual outlet, and those are two different things, because
Yeah.
we have an unhealthy relationship with sexuality. We think porn is sexuality, and that's not. That's just a emotional regulation tool we use, and we completely distorted it.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing, separating the two.
Well, yeah. Well, you may not have a sexual outlet, but reframing even what sex is designed for. Sex is a tool of creation. So
Right.
you may not have what you perceive to be your skewed perception of sex, which is the performance act, right? Like the performance of
Right.
sex. But sex is God's design for creation. And this gets into sex transmutation. Think and Grow
Right.
Rich has an entire chapter
Yep. Yep.
dedicated to
Exactly.
this. So you're wasting your powerful energy source of God's gift of creation in a napkin every
Yep.
single day, right? Harness that
Right.
energy and go create something that can benefit the rest of the world, right? Like take that creative fire that's resting inside of you and saying, what is God calling me to do? Like what gifts has he bestowed upon me of creating something meaningful for the world, right? Maybe you're a, 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 a literary architect and you've gotten away from writing creatively. Maybe you're a builder, somebody that can build and create things with your hands, but you don't feel motivated, you don't feel inspired, you don't feel like you have that creative juice flowing through you because once again, you're blowing it in a towel every single day. So take
Yep.
that God's gift of energy of creative fuel that lives inside of you and produce something meaningful. And trust me, if you fully harness like what I'm trying to share with you and you surrender to this creative expression, like that is so meaningful and powerful and fulfilling because now you're putting something that's inside of you and sharing it with the world. That was the original genesis of the Superman Life podcast. Like I had all this creative energy that I wanted to share and I've always loved the spoken word and have felt called to these types of content delivery platforms. I was like, let me start having conversations. Let me start putting videos on YouTube, and millions of views later, now we have thriving community and have impacted millions of men's lives. But it's like, take what God has given you creatively and express that, transmute that into something that will benefit the world. But what it gives back to you is exponentially greater.
Yeah, I mean, people who struggle with this addiction, one of the biggest things it does, it distorts your perception. And that's why we have this skewed perception of what sexuality is. And we're associating it with porn. And then we say, well, how can I don't have a, sexual outlet without porn? Like, because we think it's the same thing. And that's simply not. Just like people who struggle with eating, right? Um, the problem is not the food. The problem is you're misusing it. You're eating out of not out of hunger, but out of emotional regulation. Same thing with porn. You're not using porn because of sexual outlet. You're using porn because of emotional regulation. And we just think it's the same thing. You see somebody eating too much, you think they're hungry. They're not. They're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Mhm.
And same thing with this. So separating those two will be the first thing you do, to say, hey, this porn and sexual outlet are two different things. And then expect the urges and plan for them. I think that's important. Like, you need to look at, like, what do I do when I usually watch porn? What do I, is it late at night? Am I bored? Am I stressed? Am I lonely? Like, kind of analyze that.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing. And then we all know that the body holds all this in as a conditioning. Work with your body, not against it. Suppression is what really drives this addiction. The moment, whatever you resist persists. The more you try to suppress it, the worse it becomes. So kind of be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, give yourself love, and say, why am I doing this? What's really going on? And then, we talk about this in the community, to be honest about why you want to quit. And we have that in the program too, right? Like, for the guys, why are you done? Like, you outline that. And common ones are, it messes up my motivation, it affects how I see people, doesn't align with my values, it hurts the ones I love. And then a lot of us, when we struggle with this, have this all or nothing mindset, and that has to be dropped. You can't be like, because those are extremes, right? That's a very common way of thinking of people who struggle with this. Like, either this or that. It, things are not always black and white.
Yeah.
There is nuance, and I think that's important to outline. Like, um, but the most important thing is to focus on where you are at. You're not in a bad spot. If you're in a relationship, don't wish that you would be single, because that would be easier. And if you're single, don't wish you're in a relationship, because that would be easier. Ultimately, what this is just avoidance of facing what you need to face.
Yeah.
The grass is always greener on the other side. That's all it is. We always try to look at this is a victim mentality in a nutshell. It really is, because
Yeah.
you want to make it so hard for you. Then, oh, if I would be there, it's easy. And then when you get there, you're gonna look back. Oh, it was easier then, because you're always looking for an excuse, in a
Yeah.
sense. I know it sounds.
Baked into this question is the perception that the purpose of a relationship with a woman is to provide you sexual access and
Oh yeah,
sexual outlet.
that's a good
It's
one. Yeah,
deeply baked into this question,
sure.
right? Is like, a
Yeah,
woman's job in a relationship is to give me sexual outlet, right? And when you have that perception and that presupposition of like, this is something that I need, what ends up happening is something we recently saw inside the community of a single man that has been free of porn and has been casually hooking up, not at our advice, right? But at his own accord, has been trying to replace this outlet with porn, with sleeping with women that he doesn't have a deep emotional and spiritual connection with. And
yeah.
the question came up, it's like, why doesn't sex feel good to me? Because you're missing a core component of like, I have a deep connection with this woman on an emotional, intellectual, and spiritual level. A woman's job in a relationship is not to give you a sexual outlet. A woman's
No.
job is to not even complete you, but to give you a reflection of yourself in the feminine of like, now I can feel deeply connected emotionally, mentally,
Yeah.
intimately, and spiritually with this person. And when you share that and you go into the act of sex as an expression of giving versus what am I getting out of it,
Right.
then it becomes an ecstatic experience that like people try to chase with drugs and other substances. It's like that's what it's supposed to be, is like this euphoria of two souls interlocking and connecting with each other. But yeah, baked in this question is like the woman's job is to give me sexual outlet, and when I don't have it, I'm gonna go do it myself.
Yeah.
Brother, you gotta reframe all of that, man. You gotta take a level of responsibility in your own life.
Yeah.
And once again, the creative outlet, getting connected into brotherhood, finding something that calls you to a higher purpose, and then becoming a man that has something. Because the question once gets asked again, right? It's like, why are you single? Right? Like, did you willingly choose it, or are you not attracting the right type of women because you're not the high quality man that you can be? And I'm not judging anybody there, because that was definitely me for a very long time. But there's a series of questions, there's a series of reframes, and a series
Yeah.
of changing your paradigm around how you look at so much of this. But if you try to quit porn and you replace it with casual sex, all you're doing is masturbating now with another person's body.
Right. And that's the big thing, how they are replacing porn with somebody,
Mhm,
not realizing that it's still a conditioning. And like you said so well, like I 100% agree. Intimacy with a partner is nothing but a physical expression of what you already feel inside.
mhm.
And without that, it's gonna be just like a handshake, right?
Yeah,
It'll have no meaning, no, doesn't make you feel any way inside. And people who struggle with this addiction, they have conditioned themselves to porn and to, if I feel bad, I go for porn. So now they want to
mhm,
do the same thing with a person. And, we can also talk about healthy masturbation. It can be mentioned, but because I had talks about this inside the community, and I told the guys, like, listen, the issue is with you conditioning one thing with the other. That's really the problem. Like watching porn and conditioning porn with masturbation, tying the two together, that's what creates the monster, so to speak, because
yeah,
they're never meant to be together. It's like this whole thing. You are tying one to the other, and then whenever you see anything sexual on the screen, you want to masturbate, and
mhm,
vice versa. You masturbate, you're thinking of porn. You're connecting these two. And then same thing will happen when you're with a person. You're gonna think about porn because you created this in your mind.
yeah,
And you have to separate these two. But yeah, I think at the core, this is just a perception thing. There's nothing wrong with being single, nothing wrong with being in a relationship. You need to meet yourself wherever you are. If you are single, stay single and work on yourself. If you are married or in a committed relationship, meet yourself where you are and work on yourself in that situation, considering the other person as well, right? Because you have to
yes.
radical honesty. You come forth, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. You just have to. There's no. I do not believe that one's better than the other. I really think it's wherever you are, that's
That's where
what you
you are.
deal with.
Wherever
It's
you
just
are,
a
that's where you are.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. There's no, so, this person doesn't need to feel bad or he's not disadvantaged, right? He doesn't have to be celibate forever. He just has to be present with himself and, go inward and don't change the thinking about sexual outlet being something to do with porn.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
just dismantle that
Exactly.
belief
Yeah.
because it's a false
Um,
belief.
yeah. Arnold, I think we'll wrap it up with that one today, because there's a lot there for everybody to unpack. Whether you're single, navigating early stages of dating, or even in married life, I think The bits that we shared in this conversation could be incredibly helpful and valuable to everybody, no matter where they are in their journey, guys. So, as we shared at the beginning, if you're a man and you've recognized that porn has had a destructive consequence on your life and you're committed to real and lasting change, we recently made a lot of updates inside of our community that we are offering that nobody else in this space is giving you access to the community, to daily freedom calls, to the curriculum, which we talk about time and time again. You guys know what we're about, real identity transformation. But if you're looking for a community and the help to get you out of the depths of this addiction and step into life that God is calling you to live, join us at school.com/reboot your life. You can access the community. You can get programs, coaching, calls for 7 days, absolutely free, no obligation to stick around and stay if it doesn't vibe with you, but at least be willing to offer us 7 days to show you the pathway out of this. And as I said, guys, if you have questions that you want answered on upcoming episodes, email those questions over to frank@rebuildsrecovery.com. But as always, joined by my brother, head coach inside the community, Coach Arnold. Thank you again for your wisdom and your commitment to helping these guys level up. Guys, make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, and we will see you in the next one.